All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Shante Harding, and I'm the Special Events Coordinator here at the Night Ministry. Welcome to our second Facebook Live question and answer session. Today, we will explore the topic of youth homelessness with perspective from the Night Ministry's Youth Outreach Team, also known as YAT. We have our very own Marco Lucio-Chavez. Marco is an outreach case manager at the Night Ministry. Marco's job is to provide housing assistance, links to healthcare, and supportive services to young people ages 14 to 24 experiencing homelessness and/or poverty. He connects youth on the streets and at the crib to the resources they need to assist to end their cycle of homelessness. Hired on as an on-call youth worker in May of 2018, he now works with our yacht team. Thank you for joining us, Marco.
Thank you for having me, Shante.
Of course. All right, so during the discussion, audience, please feel free to type any questions you might have in the comments section, and Marco and I will try to get to them either during the conversation or after. All right, I guess we'll dive right into our first topic. So, Marco, the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless reported over 11,000 young people experiencing homelessness ages 14 to 24 were unaccompanied. What does that mean, and what do we know about youth and young adults who are experiencing homelessness in Chicago specifically, such as factors in them becoming homeless, and what does homelessness look like for them?
So unaccompanied means when our clients are essentially just alone. They run away from Kentucky or Florida and they find themselves here in Chicago in a situation where they're looking for those resources. What we do know about these clients is that they are an invisible population. They exist, but they blend into an everyday person. But we also know that they are people too, and that they matter. And it's important to remember in that there is no us and them. Again, they are people too.
Right.
And they are also consistently adversely affected by systemic injustices.
What factors would you say contribute to them becoming homeless, and what does homelessness look like for them?
So we know that oftentimes the factors can be that they're throwaway youth, meaning that it's a youth who's LGBTQ identifying, and their parent or whomever essentially doesn't want anything to do with them. So they're throwaway youth. We know that they're runaway youth. Oftentimes, the family could have been evicted, and so they end up in a family shelter, but there's no specific resources for these young adults. They could be escaping domestic violence situations, a lack of support from family and friends for their mental health issues, which forces them into homelessness, pregnancy, substance abuse, or even aging out of foster care or being discharged from being incarcerated.
Right. You mentioned a lack of resources, and we know homeless individuals, have little or no access to things like safe health care and other social services. What services does YAT at the Night Ministry provide, and how is it tailored to help this specific population?
So the youth outreach team, one of the most important things that we provide are housing assessments and resources through the coordinated entry system or through assisting and applying for the Chicago Housing Authority application. In the fiscal year of 2020, 40 young adults in our care were transitioned to more safe and stable housing.
Wow.
And that's something that's very important. A lot of times we don't see those numbers. We don't see those clients that are out in the street, again, existing in that invisible population that we talked about earlier. Longevity of services. We can serve a client at the age of 18, and in 3 years from then they come back and, they might need something as simple as a CID. But the fact that they return to our services and they look at the Night Ministry's youth outreach team because of the impact we made in their lives.
Yes. Speaking of the impact, how do you identify young people who may benefit from Yacht's help, and what approaches do you take to connect with them?
Um, so it as somebody on the team once told me when I first started, in this job you have to be like suspect of the clients when we're out and doing outreach, right? So in the summer, that can look like somebody who's wearing really tattered, unwashed clothing. It could be clients who are lingering in spaces that are just where they're misplaced. So an example on 95th Street Red Line. It's 2 in the morning or 12 in the morning, and you see some 15-year-old walking around. Um, and we recognize also that oftentimes that these can just be fashion choices, um, or however somebody may choose to wear their clothing.
Hmm.
Um, so what we say is we'll give them one of our outreach cards and say, these are the services that we provide, not necessarily saying that they're for you, but maybe you know somebody. And this opens up the floor for them to freely discuss. So oftentimes we'll get a response back, something to the effect of, well, I have a friend who needs somewhere to stay the night. And as the conversation goes on, it ends up being that they're in need of our services. They were just building a wall,
Hmm.
but trying to see into what we are providing.
I see it. So would you say a lot of your contacts come through the people that you can spot out when you're out on the street looking for young people, and through those connections that they might have, like a friend or family member or someone like that? A lot of it is really just hands-on, kind of word to word.
Yeah. And it even in our approach to that,
Hmm.
it can be through word of mouth. So we'll give out bus cards or gift cards, and then we'll get a client come back and say, "Oh, I heard you gave so and so a bus card or gift card. I was wondering if you could help me with that." Um, and even just offering that open ear, open space, non-confrontational discussion, um, it that's something that our clients don't receive
Hmm.
every day, I would say. Um, Again, because they're that invisible population, they're not often able to just speak freely to somebody. So
Hmm.
when we enter the scene, it's comfort, it's a safe space,
Right.
and so they share that with others because they know that others may be in need of those services.
Hmm. That's really profound. Over the years, as far as Yacht and your programming, how has it changed and evolved to kind of fit this population of youth suffering from poverty and homelessness? What changes have you guys seen? What's worked, and maybe what hasn't worked?
So when I started with the youth outreach team, our titles were youth outreach professionals, and our sole job was to go out into the street, get clients, refer clients to resources, or refer them into our shelter programs, and then the case managers would take it over from there.
Let's see.
Since I've started, we were promoted to outreach case managers, so kind of doing dual the work, referring them and following through, and securing a plan that essentially would light the way to defeating this cycle of homelessness that our clients often find themselves in. Um, and just we go through a lot of training and educational classes that advance our knowledge in working in the streets, working with clients, like human trafficking, and the human trafficking training, harm reduction trainings.
Mhm.
And we've also expanded our team to have 4 outreach case managers as well as a peer outreach professional. Um, and a peer outreach professional, oftentimes, they are a client with lived experience, and so they can offer a far more in-depth view and scope of outreach to the team.
Nice. Um, So I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about what's going on, in today's world surrounding COVID-19 and the pandemic. What have young people been telling you about the impact of COVID-19 on their lives, um, and anything Yacht has done in their approach to help the impact and those people being affected by this the most?
Uh, yeah, it's a good question. This The impact has been absolutely devastating to our clients. Um, our clients come to us already in crisis, already suffering from being displaced and just being essentially abandoned, like we said, unaccompanied earlier. Um, our clients have experienced job loss. Our clients with kids, um, they don't have access to childcare anymore, or in the initial time period. So it was hard to work, and it's hard to put your child in another facility or in another form of care, again, because of the pandemic. A lot of them experience isolation. Some of the housing programs weren't allowing visitors to enter the housing units, so they weren't able to have interaction or that human connection with anybody. Um, and having that isolation leads our clients to backtrack on their mental health state. They find themselves in extreme distress with anxiety or depression, and so this is where that essential worker title of our job comes into play. We need to be there for our clients. We need to serve our clients in that capacity. Because if not, who else will, right?
Right.
Um, there was a delay in court cases. Um, a lot of times our clients were finding themselves stranded in certain areas because the transportation schedules had changed. Granted, they were free. The transportation on the public transportation was free. The routes and scheduling had changed. So, a client would get off of work at 6 p.m. and they couldn't make it to the shelter until 8 or 9. And that's a long period of time from when you get off of work after a long day's work.
Absolutely. So has Yacht's approach to youth outreach changed at all to fit these circumstances, or maybe the number of people you guys have seen has increased or decreased? Anything to report back there?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of changes in our everyday functions.
Hmm.
Uh, we at the crib specifically, we assisted our clients with obtaining their stimulus check. There was a lot of de-escalation that we were doing. Our clients were cooped up; they didn't have the room to breathe. Again, that anxiety was intense here.
Right.
Um, we delivered food to our clients, and that was important because a lot of our clients didn't have access to food pantries anymore because of COVID and social distancing and stay-at-home guidelines. And I think one of the most helpful things was we were visible now more than we had ever been, with our social medias, with um, just reaching out to clients in aftercare, with reaching out to our clients in care, just really letting as many people know that we are here still providing services for those in need.
Absolutely. Um, as far as providing services, do you guys partner with any other organizations in Chicago to help produce, better outcomes for our clients? Could you maybe name a few, explain our relationships with them?
Yeah, one of the one of the strongest linkages we have right now for our clients is with Heartland Alliance Neon Youth. Um, the Neon Youth program gets our clients from where they are to job trainings. They do transportation assistance. They even help them get clothing for their interviews, and uh, that's a really big commodity. Our clients, they oftentimes don't have jobs. They don't have the job training, and Neon Youth helps them get all that. Stand Up for Kids is another great one.
Nice.
Drop-in center. They're known for their closet and their meals and their strong personal connection to the staff there. Um, the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. A lot of our clients have legal issues, so they turn to them, and having that linkage with them allows them to further their court case, get their birth certificates from different states. And another great one we have is a National Youth Advocacy Program, which houses clients that are 18 to 23 or 24. Um, and they they transition them into more safe and stable housing in a really rapid fashion, and that's important because a lot of times our clients can be waiting on these coordinated entry system lists or the Chicago Housing Authority's list for years at a time. And so for that program to kind of just come in and place them into someone else's home while they're waiting for those services is phenomenal.
Yes. And since at the Night Ministry we're, all about human connection, can you share any stories that kind of demonstrate how you've helped young people find a life of greater stability outside of their poverty and homelessness?
So back in, I believe, early November, I was entering the crib one day, and in the middle of the street, I had witnessed a female um, getting abused. It was in the midst of an act of domestic violence, um, and so I intervened, and I started talking with this client, and she was crying. She was in distress. She didn't know where she was going. She was homeless, and she had never heard of the crib before, never heard of the night ministry. So bring her inside to the crib, and I immediately started working with her. What do you need? What's going on? What can I help you with? And this is where that foundation of human connection begins with our client, that initial intake. Again, non-confrontational, really open, non-judgmental. What can I do for you? What do you need from me to support you? Um, and it ended up being that this client had at one point been sexually assaulted and didn't have the services or support or didn't have the knowledge on how to get resources or advocacy support. So that was the first step we took. The second step was we discovered that this wasn't the first instance of domestic violence that she was experiencing. So we filed a police report and we took her to court and we fought it in court. And it was a really long, hard fight. Um, it, it was draining, but it didn't stop me from acting. This is the epitome of human connection here at the Night Ministry. Um, you take the time and you provide to this client as far as their needs need to be met. Um, and ultimately, she won her court case. She got the results that she wanted. And things turned out for the better for her, and now she's safely and stably housed. Um, and she she's fine. And
Wow.
you know, she's grateful to have had an ally like me in her life, and that's something that just that is what the word fulfilling means to
Yes.
me.
Thank you for sharing that. That's such an amazing story and so heartwarming to hear that we have such amazing people working, for us, with us here at the Night Ministry that genuinely care about the work that we do here and it just shows how important it is to us. I would like to take a break here, or just to remind you guys to ask questions in the comments section. Any questions you have for Marco or for me, now would be a great time to ask them. And we'll move on for now to our next questions. Um, Marco, if there are any young people watching right now in Chicago who are experiencing homelessness or housing difficulties and instability, how can they get help? What advice would you give them?
There are so many resources out there. The Youth Outreach Team specifically, we have a central intake number that is operating 24/7, 365. That number is 877-286-2523. You call that number and it'll be routed to us, and we'll be able to get you those resources or whatever it is that you may need. Excuse me.
Nice.
There is a app called Streetlight, and that's another great app. It covers citywide resources for youth experiencing homelessness. It gives out notifications for food pantries that are open, soup kitchens. It can help you book a bed at a shelter should you need it for the night. Our social media is Yacht Spot, YOT Spot on Facebook. And on Instagram, it is Yacht Spot TNM. You can find us every Thursday at Belmont and Halstead, beginning at 8:30 p.m. We provide hygiene kits, socks, meals, and always an open ear, as well as HIV and STI testing. And you can always call 311 for resources if you are not a young adult who needs help. 311's Homeless Services Division is always available to answer that call. And lastly, our new location, The Crib, here at 1735 North Ashland. Intake begins at 8:30 p.m. every day.
Nice. Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information. I'm sure we'll share it again when we post about this on our Facebook page. To wrap up, I think this concludes our discussion. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you again to Marco for joining us today and answering all of our questions and providing that really good information about the services that we provide here at the Night Ministry.
Thank you, Shante, for having me.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, please like and share this live stream and tune into our next session happening next Wednesday at the same time at 3 p.m. We will be talking to a member from the Night Ministry's Youth Supportive Services team. So keep an eye on our Facebook page for more information about that. And thank you again for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, everyone.
You too. Take care.